All right. Good morning. Welcome to the show. I thought the January 6th committee was supposed to start at 10 Eastern time, but apparently it has not started yet. I'm looking at C-SPAN and PBS, and none of them are starting yet. Some of them say 10:30. I don't know if there was a time change or what, but we'll see what happens. I can always flap my lips until something else comes up. And I'm only going to be here my normal time today, so we will figure it out. But I've got a couple things related to that, and we'll see what happens. Anyway, welcome to the show. Time to play the intro. Johnny? Johnny! Turn that shit down. The hell? Play the intro.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the Lucky Dog studio in a hidden location somewhere in the upper Midwest of the United States of America, it's a brother making his own way but with all the wrong opinions. Welcome to the Morning Night Live with your host, yours truly, Dawg Knight.
All right, stop the music. Now, thank you. Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Night Live. I'm your host, Marty, also known as Dawg Knight on the internet. And welcome to the Dawg Knight Channel. Now, I am waiting for the January 6th committee to show up. Apparently, there must be something that is... Wait, what the hell's going on here? Uh-oh, I didn't know that. Hey, there's something wrong here. I can fix that real quick. I don't want to put this on the screen until there's something to put on the screen. What the heck's going on here? That's weird. That should be. Wait a minute. What the hell's going on? Why can't this show up on the screen? Well, I don't want to change my screen until it's there. But something is. There it is. I was wondering what happened. All right. Now I feel better. So anyway, this is what's on the PBS YouTube channel right now. Supposedly live at 9 a.m. this morning. June 13th, 9 a.m. And that's all I got. So until they get their shit together, I am going to stay right here. And I'll pull up a couple articles. I want a couple things that happened since the original. The hell did I do there? Good God, what are you doing, Marty? Anyway, so while we're waiting for that to start, I want to say good morning to everybody in the chat, and we'll make do until they show up. Anyway, so first in the chat today is our friend Ty Alexander, who gets the bell. Good morning, sir. Thank you for being here. Also, good morning, Rotten Corpse, Tyler F., Advocatus Diabli, Simon Wolfwood, Somnambule Nation, Chicago, Mike Savage, Blarg, Black Hebrew Israelite. Right. There's a little premature interjection there. Also, good morning to, I said Advocatus Diabli, Tribute Liberty, what's up, my friend? Maddie's in the house. Also, good morning, Aaron Meredith. This is Kyle. What's up? Hello, chat people and PETA. Well, good morning to you, Kyle. Nice to have you back. You've been back a couple times lately, and I like to see it. Good morning, ex-Bubba Hotep, Zombie Teddy. Who else is here? Is that everybody? Man Squatch, what's up? All right. So anyway, in theory, the January 6th committee is having a hearing this morning. Day 2 of the Dog and Pony show. Why am I on the wrong channel? What the hell's going on here? Everything's messed up. This should be on my channel. And I don't even know how that happened. Is this one on my channel? That one's on my channel. This one's not. What the hell? All right. Anyway, So they're having more hearings today, another hearing today, and I didn't tweet the show out, did I? I'm gonna click that, and we should be good. And as you know, on Thursday when we watched it Thursday night, if you were joined me then, it was a very interesting mix of very carefully selected quote mining and put it together in a way that doesn't answer all the questions that I want answered. Now, it's clearly they have a purpose. Their purpose is to get rid of Donald Trump for once and for all, because they couldn't do it through impeachment 1. They couldn't do it through impeachment 2. They couldn't do it through the Miller investigation. They couldn't do it. And so now they're trying to use this very little known clause in the Constitution that was in kind of put together during or after the Civil War, where if they can find that Donald Trump was engaging or encouraging an insurrection, okay, then he would be ineligible to run for president again. And so it seems to be their sole purpose of this particular committee. And it's filled with Democrats and never Trumpers, which I know is redundant because you got Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, who are very anti-Trump, and that's fine. I don't care. They can be anti-Trump. I don't care. Good morning. CNN sucks, the most redundant name on the internet. And so I don't understand what they think they're going to accomplish unless they believe they can come up with enough evidence to get the Justice Department to attempt to charge Trump with something. Now, they have a problem. And the problem is, and in fact, the problem is, let me see if please tell me I bookmarked this saying, because right here, here's a problem they have, and this is even. Why is my mouse not working? I'm having troubles today. Technically, I think I need new batteries in the mouse. Even that the twins, Rachel Maddow and Chris Hayes, acknowledge one problem that this committee has. And here's the problem the committee has. Listen carefully.
Just the key point that, yes, there was a pro-Trump rally at which the president spoke, and we can absolutely talk about all the things the president said there. But the idea that rally is the thing that got out of hand and that somehow resulted in the breaching of the Capitol, that rally was very far from the Capitol. Yep. And the people who, as you say, did the initial breach that allowed everybody else to come in, they never even went to that rally. Just the key point that, yes, there was a...
Who is this woman? Or man, or thing, or whatever that was. You know what? It's funny because they have a split screen there, and you notice that you don't see Chris Hayes and Rachel Maddow at the same time. I think she's a quick change artist. Anyway, that's a problem. I'm just saying, that's a problem. That it was clearly this rally that he had planned. And also, the thing is, when they showed a bunch of video of different people saying, oh yeah, President Trump told us to come here. Well, when they say they're Proud Boys, I don't know. But yes, that is Maddow and Chris Hayes. It's the same person. It's the same person. Yes, Donald Trump did tell people to come to Washington, come to the Capitol. But did he tell them to? They're trying to say that he tried to inspire a riot. And when his rally is 1.5 miles away and the Capitol is breached while he's still speaking, it's a tough... Now, granted, the January 6th committee spliced a lot of different video together to make it look like Donald Trump's telling them to go do this, but it's all nonsense. And they very carefully left out things he said that would contradict what they're trying to accomplish. But anyone who's paying attention to this, which apparently not a whole lot of people, but anyone who's been paying attention to this knows absolutely that those two things don't mesh. And so, it is kind of wild that Rachel Maddow said that the rally was very far away while these people were breaching the Capitol. They had nothing to do with the rally. It had nothing to do with what Donald Trump said. He didn't. And so once the people, now the rally, right? The rally after they were done, but the Capitol had long been breached. Some of those people went over to the Capitol, and some of those people probably went inside going, hey, now they're letting us in. The police were just kind of standing around. And so some of those people probably didn't even know of the violence that happened, 10, 15, 20 minutes earlier, however long it took them to walk from the rally over to the Capitol building. In fact, some people I saw that did not go to the rally, they said, they didn't feel like going down to the Capitol. They went back to the hotel rooms. They didn't know what had happened until they turned on the TV. And here's the thing. Here's the thing too. So if Donald Trump was trying to incite this riot and it would have said, go, breach the Capitol, whatever. Do you think a majority of the people in that crowd would have done that? Or do you think they would have they'd have given you one of these? Would you talk about Donald Trump? I'd have been what you talk about Willis to Donald Trump, because I'd be like, I ain't doing that. What are you talking about? You know what I saw? I think, is it The Empire Strikes Back, where the guy with the eyes are out here and he goes, it's a trap. They should have all thought of that immediately. Okay, this is strange. Why does my channel keep switching back to that channel? That is so weird. What is going on here? All right, so we're going to try to get this. I'm not logged into my other account. Why does it keep going back to my other account? Anyway, so what do you think? Yeah, Return of the Jedi. Thank you. That's what it was. So what do you think about that? Do you think, those of you who watched this with me Thursday, do you think that, what the hell? There it is. Wait, June 3rd, 11th. This is supposed to be on now. I wonder why. Is anyone else? Let's see. Let me try. Nope. USA Today. They're not out there. This was supposed to be at 10 o'clock. And I'm not sure why it's not happening.
Pull your ass off stage. Like, nah,
okay.
You gotta go.
Hotep Jesus is on. Wow, this is wild. I don't know why that the committee's not showing. He must be watching it. Let me try it on a different channel. Anyway, good morning. What's her name? How you doing? Rockhoppers 1163. What's happening? Tyre says, wouldn't double jeopardy be in play for this? They tried him already and found it. Who are you talking about? Are you talking about Donald Trump? No, Donald Trump. There is no double jeopardy on this. He hasn't been tried on anything yet. If that's what you mean. LA Prepper, what's happening? Your Admiral Akbar needs work. Yes, it's a trap. I don't know how he said it. He just said it. Admiral Akbar. Yeah, I just saw that yesterday. It was on, because after our party yesterday, by the way, I should show you the video. Should I show you the video of my grandbaby? It's about 4 minutes long. I'm not sure if I don't want to post it live. Nah, I better not. I'm going to put it on my, on Marty's Big Journey, and I'll have it on, well, none of you follow me on Facebook because that's my personal life. But I'll probably put it on Instagram and on Marty's Big Journey. I made a video for my daughter and son-in-law of the baby, and it was cute. It was 3 months old yesterday. So apparently the committee is late. Let's see if anyone else is on here. Uncivil law. No, the only ones. I wonder. Let's see. Let's try PBS. my understanding that's the hearing was supposed to start today, and at 10 o'clock, or 10 o'clock Eastern, which would be now. Hello, Keebler, how you doing? But let's see, PBS January 6th. Let's see what they got. And it's possible they're just late. Yeah, this is they're showing. Where's day 2? Here it is. And they were supposed to be live. Come on.
Who were close to then President Trump, who participated in the conversations around when and how to message this whole stop the steal message and perpetuate the lie that he had actually won the election. Bill Stepien would be front and center in those conversations. I should also note the New York Times is reporting he's not appearing because his wife went into labor. So, of course, we wish everyone well. We hope.
All right. So this is right now. The other channels are just having commentary on it. Let's see here. They're scared of him running again. Unbelievable. Yeah, they kind of are. Hello. Oh, Rick. Oh, Rick. How you doing? Rick Ashbringer. It's Rick. How you doing, man? I was trying to figure out how to say that. Oh, there we go. Looks like C-SPAN actually has, at least has the committee room open. And looks like there are people mulling about. So, okay, that's good to know. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this. I'll just leave that off for now until they actually start talking. One thing, though, a couple things that are happening with the January 6th committee. Interesting happening here. Apparently, let's see. I'm just going to pull out a few different articles while we're doing this, see what other people are saying about it, or at least some of my favorite media. And the show trial begins. There we go. Let's go ahead and do this while we're waiting for the committee. I'll put that volume on that down low just so I can hear when they start. And we will see a couple articles here. So, apparently, Liz Cheney's running for Congress again. The hell, there we go. Well, she's apparently, they've subpoenaed her primary opponent in Wyoming's campaign advisor, and that person, who she's getting crushed, at least as far as the polls are, in Wyoming for her congressional seat. And apparently she has appeared to have used the January 6th committee as a political weapon against her opponent. The article goes, it's no secret that Liz Cheney's political career as an establishment Republican took a nosedive into oblivion when she sided with Democrats in their January 6th witch hunt. Since then, her primary opponent, Harriet Hageman, has been trouncing Cheney in the polls and now leads by a whopping 30 points. Hello, Straight Sith Mail, and why are you so angry? 30, she's down 30 points after a dismal first hearing for the January 6th committee that pulled in just 19 million viewers across the United States. Liz Cheney has now subpoenaed former Donald Trump campaign manager William Stepien, who is also just so happens to be Hageman's campaign advisor. So a day after a poll was released showing Liz Cheney getting destroyed by Trump-endorsed Hageman for Wyoming, the committee just happened to subpoena Stepien, who is running Harriet's campaign. This circus is beyond embarrassment and will forever stain the integrity of Congress. That's Taylor Budowich from some guy from California. And then some here, just people responding. I'm sure the timing here was just coincidental and totally not Liz Cheney using her power in the committee to get political retribution. Oh, never. Donald Trump Jr., Liz Cheney should be investigated for how she openly used this sham of a committee to target and harass her political enemies. Anyway, according to Hill, Stepien appeared before the committee last November and was primary mover in former President Trump's Stop the Steal campaign. Former President Trump had a rally for Hageman in late May where he referred to Cheney as a backstabbing rhino. And worse than a terrible Democrats are backstabbing rhino Republicans that are helping them do their act. and there's no rhino in America who has thrown her lot in with the radical left more than Liz Cheney. Trump further described Cheney as a lapdog for Pelosi and a human soundbite machine for CNN and MSDNC. Anyway, so that's amazing that she has done that. Let's see here. What else do we got? Here's PJ Mita's look at the committee's first day. January 6th committee called out for altering evidence and lying about it. The January 6th committee has a well-established credibility problem. The committee released various text messages that have actually exonerated Donald Trump, but they falsely characterize the message as incriminating. And when the truth wasn't incriminating, they doctored text messages to make them look so. Now, real quick, Angel Army, what's happening? C-SPAN just for that live. Thank you, Angel. Thank you. We have our first sponsor of the day, Rachel Maddow's Dildo.
You are the new Stream
And you are the new Streamlabs Superstar sponsor of the day. Thank you, Rachel Maddow's Dildo. I can't imagine. Oh, FX is in the house. Nice to see you. The message from Rachel Maddow's Dildo. Well, you know what? Wait a minute. Hold on. Stop, Marty. Stop. You got to remember, it is Metal Monday. Rachel Maddow's Dildo says... Oh, today. Oh my God, what is going on here? Seriously? Uh-oh. All right, Rachel's Maddow's Dildo says, even I can see this whole January 6th hearing is bullshit. And I've been trapped in her hoo-ha, I've been trapped in her hoo-ha for 13 hours a day. Before I get recalled to fulfill Maddow's wishes, what do you think about the feds arresting Feds Patriot Front in Iowa? Thank you, Rachel Maddow's Dildo. That's inappropriate. Yes, it's inappropriate. But you know what? I love it. As far as you're talking about Patriot Front? That was in Idaho, actually. It was in Idaho that happened. It was, I don't know how many of you saw that. So apparently during a gay pride event in Idaho, yeah, go figure, they found a van load of those fake-looking Patriot Front fuckfaces who are totally and absolutely real and just exactly what you would think they would be. But it was interesting because I was reading a bunch of tweets about that. And apparently they found out that some of those members of that group just happened to be some sort of informants. Imagine that. Actually, that's actually kind of a clown show. So anyway, thanks hearing Maddow's hoo-ha. First thing, thanks for hearing. Okay, D.I. Fredo watch. Good morning. Who says thanks? Something about hearing about Rachel Maddow's hoo-ha first thing in the morning with throw up emoji, 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 throw up emoji. I feel your pain. Yes, nobody want to. What's that line? Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Yeah, that whole Patriot Front thing. It is so freaking goofy. I think here's what I think happened. Okay, here's my opinion. That first night of the hearing went so weird and just people kind of saw through it and they didn't get the ratings they want. They were probably hoping that half the country be watching, and they got about 10% of the country watching it. There was between all the stations and probably internet, there's probably 20 billion people watching it. But anyway, let's go back to this article though about the committee getting called out for lying. So they had some, the committee released various text messages that have actually exonerated Donald Trump, but they falsely characterized the messages as incriminating. And when the truth wasn't incriminating, they doctored text messages to make it look so. Now, Representative Jim Jordan, Ohio, is calling out the committee for its deceptions, and he promised an investigation during an appearance on Fox News with Maria Bartiromo. I want to see all the depositions, Representative Jordan said. I want to see all the documents, and Ranking Member Rodney Davis has already sent a preservation letter to the committee saying preserve all this information so we can look at it and the American people can get the full story, not just this one-sided choreographed presentation we got, we got the other night. But when you think about what this committee has done, never in the history of this country, in the history of the House of Representatives, has a minority leader not been able to put on a select committee that individuals he or she has selected. Because they denied two. Pelosi denied two of the members that she wanted to put on the committee, and so then she just put her own on there. Anyway, we also know that this committee has altered evidence and lied to the American people about it.
Cannon House office building, waiting for the second January 6th select committee hearing to begin. Among the witnesses today, former Fox.
Okay, we're going to hold on that. Let's see. This last part, we also know this committee has altered evidence and lied to the American people about it, so much so that they had to issue a statement which says, we regret the error, which is government speak for we got caught lying, Jordan continued. We regret the error. Does anyone know what they regretted the error about? I have no idea. I don't know what he's talking about. Let's see if I can find that. I'm going to look for it on. Let's try Twitter. Maybe we regret the error. Let's see. Let's do this. We'll put it. Let's add Jan 6. January 6. Let's see. Oh, here we go. In Town Hall. Let's see if they've got the... Here, let's put this audio back on. Oh, they're just talking... They're just talking to the background. Let's check out this Town Hall article here. Sorry, guys. I'm having trouble with my mouse. I think I need a new battery. That's probably it. All right. So here it is in Town Hall. The January 6th committee is facing pressure as details reveal it lied and altered evidence to favor Democrats' radical narrative of the Capitol Hill protest. Jim Jordan called out the committee, blah, blah, blah. Spokesperson, same thing. Okay, a spokesperson admitted that the messages Adam Schiff showed during the hearing had been adjusted to support the idea that Meadows wanted former Vice President Mike Pence to overturn the election results. In a statement, the spokesman confessed that the Select Committee on Monday created and provided Representative Schiff a graphic to use during the business meeting, quoting from a text message from, quote, a lawmaker to, end quote, to Meadows. This graphic read, quote, on January 6, 2021, Vice President Mike Pence, as President of the Senate, should call out all electoral votes that he believes are unconstitutional as no electoral votes at all. In the graphic, the period at the end of that sentence was added inadvertently. The Select Committee is responsible and regrets the area. Okay, hang on a second. They're saying they missed a period. No, that's not. I'm pretty sure that's incorrect. Let's see what the statement is actually here. Okay, let's see. Okay. Here's what it is. The committee cut off half a sentence and paragraphs of further information, then added a period and changed the format so it appeared to be the whole message. The Federalist first reported the full message was a short summary of the legal briefing Jordan forwarded from lawyer Joseph Schmitz to Meadows on January 5th, meaning that the lawmaker did not write the message at all, the report added. The committee spokesman provided the entire paragraph in the interest of transparency. Quote, on January 6, 2021, Vice President Mike Pence, as President of the Senate, should call out all the electoral votes that he believes are unconstitutional as no electoral votes at all, in accordance with guidance from Founding Father Alexander Hamilton and judicial presidents. Schmidt's original text read, no legislative act, wrote Alexander Hamilton in the Federalist 78, contrary to the Constitution, can be valid. The Court in Hubbard versus Lowe reinforced this truth that an unconstitutional statute is not a law and at all is that an unconstitutional statute is not a law at all is a proposition no longer open to discussion. Following this rationale, an unconstitutionally appointed elector, like an unconstitutionally elected statute, is no elector at all. The Smith's text continues. So they cut it off. People familiar with Jordan said they were suspicious of the message because the representative tends to text with one or two words rather than paragraphs. Earlier this week, the January 6th committee Vice Chair Liz Cheney presented samples of a text message from Donald Trump allies imploring and then President, that's a terribly written sentence, to respond to the Capitol riot as it was unfolding. While Cheney did not detail who sent the messages, Watergate sleuth Carl Bernstein predicted it was inevitable their identities will eventually be revealed. Federal agents arrested more than 500 people, blah, blah, blah. Now, back to this article, though. Let's see. So and then Jordan's one of the two people blocked for being on the committee. So, nothing sketchy there at all. We're still waiting for the committee hearing to start. Looks like they're still mulling around. Let's move on. I think we joked the other day, CBS, one of the ABC media or Alphabet Media, legacy media, apparently there's a big hubbub about how CBS decided to preempt reruns of Young Sheldon. And apparently Young Sheldon's ratings of a rerun the week prior were higher than the ratings for this on CBS last week. Now, that doesn't mean a whole lot because there is so many different places to watch it, but still, CBS, 3.24 million people watched the Capitol assault hearings, and 3.86 million watched Young Sheldon the week before. So they probably would have done better with Young Sheldon, but this is important to them. This is very important to them. In the Federalist, January 6th Inquisition is an obvious Soviet-style show trial. As during the communist control of Soviet Russia, the January 6th Committee's purpose is to prop up a dying, corrupt regime. The House Select Committee on January 6th launched the public phase of its proceedings Thursday night in a prime-time hearing with all the fanfare of a Soviet show trial, complete with production assistance from former president of ABC News. Just as the communists gathered in Moscow between 1936 and 1938 to purge their political opponents in a public show trials, 9 members of the lower chamber filed into the Cannon House office building to demonize their political opponents as domestic enemies. I'm from a part of the country where people justify the actions of slavery and Ku Klux Klan and lynching. I didn't notice that he said that in present tense when he started that committee hearing. Chairman Bernie Thompson of Mississippi said in his opening, I'm reminded of that dark history as I hear voices today to try to justify the action of the insurrectionists on January 6, 2021. Still haven't found those people who justified the riot actions. Has anybody justified, other than in a general sense, that people are the last, they say that the courts are the last place, where you can air your grievances, but actually the people are the last people that can air your grievances, as in the Boston Tea Party type of thing. But anyway, Thompson went on to brand Tlaib's political opposition as modern-day Confederates and domestic enemies of the Constitution, cloaking his own authoritarian admonishment under the moral righteousness of preserving American democracy. The world is watching what we do here, Thompson said. Yeah, it's a dog and pony show, just like the name of my stream. By the way, you know what? I'm not going to read this. Let's just chat for a little bit. I want to talk to y'all. Before, though, I want to make sure that you know that the Morning Night Live is brought to you by you, the viewer of the Morning Night Live. If you haven't hit the like button already, most of you have, but if you haven't, hit that like button now. Share this stream. This committee hearing is bound to get started eventually. And if you'd like to help sponsor the show, you can go to pdognight.live. Just open another window. Up in the upper right-hand corner is my Streamlabs box up there, or you can do super chats, or there's a couple other options in the description down below. And at the end of this show, I will link any of the articles that I have open. Even if I don't get to them, they will be in a single link in the description down below. I usually update that during the outro. And if you're watching on replay, put a comment in the comment section. All right, let's see here. Young Sheldon. Yeah, it's a spinoff of Big Bang Theory. It's Sheldon as a child when he was a precocious but super smart little kid doing very scientific things. Let's see. The urbanites that never lugged their children equipment anywhere because they also go nowhere. Okay, I'm missing part of the conversation. News update. Grievance grifters protest the Grand Rapids city manager's home in the middle of the night with a bullhorn demanding the officer who killed Lila be rearrested. Apparently, bail or no bail, or with no bail, should apply to white people, especially white police. Isn't that the one? Is the Grand Rapids shooting? Is that the one where at first they said it was a pregnant woman, and then they said she was unarmed, and then she said they had what was the other thing?
This morning from the Cannon House office.
Okay, I don't need that.
Waiting.
Is that one? And then the video came out, and she's running with them, pointing a gun back at them. Like, I don't know. Is that the one, DI? I'm not sure. Let's see. It sounds painful to spin off of a show. Would rather cash it myself than watch. Oh, yeah. I found Big Bang Theory humorous every 7 episodes, and then it's nerd humor. It's kind of old, and I'm surprised that they don't get the people who are caping for neurodivergent people protesting the show as well, actually they're super smart people. I don't know. I'm surprised they're not protesting this show for putting nerds in a bad light. Anyway, we have another donation from Rachel Madhouse Dildo. Good God. All right, Rachel Madhouse Dildo, here we go. Maybe. What is going on? Let's do this. Rachel's Madhouse Dildo says, oh, that's really loud. Sorry. Rachel Madhouse Dildo says, how many people died on January 6th? Only 2 protesters, and 1 was shot in the neck at point blank range with her back to him. Oh no, her back wasn't. She was trying to climb through the window and he shot her right in the neck, but it was pretty much point blank range and she had no weapons. Anyway, that's right. Fuck the police that participated in setting up the American people to take our rights away. All right. Thank you, Rachel Madhouse Dildo. And you're still the Streamlabs Superstar sponsor of the day. Somehow Gunfox is named up there. I thought I reset that. Well, Rachel Madhouse Dildo, you are the Streamlabs Superstar sponsor of the day. So, and it's not open. What the hell, Marty? Oh my God. eventually this hearing is going to come on. I know it is. Oh, looks like there's some action. People are coming. Oh, they've got one of the witnesses has been seated. Let's turn off this this message because it is incorrect. It is not open mic day. But this show is sponsored by viewers like you. Become a sponsor of the stream with your donation and have your message read live on the show. All right, where's my cloud bot? Let's turn that shit off. Yeah, the cameras are all taking pictures of this witness. So I know you're just, I can't contain yourself. I'm going to put this back on the screen now. This is just fascinating. Well, actually, you know what? Maybe not. Maybe I'll move the articles over. Let's see. Sounds like Game of Thrones music. Yes, that was pretty epic. I never know what to expect when I click some of these because I don't know what these songs like. Let's see. Percent of deaths, 2 via flashbangs, 2 due to Capitol Police beating, and 1 point blank shot. I know that the shot and the one was, even though they won't admit it, was we saw the video of the woman being beaten, and both in the tunnel, and then when they pulled her out, someone was hitting her with a stick. And one was a heart attack. In theory, that's the one they call the heart attack, though. But they're saying, even during these hearings, these assholes said that 5 police officers were killed at the January 6th, or because of the January 6th riot. Now, what's fascinating is there is the one who had a stroke the next day, but they didn't tell you that until after he was laid in state in the Capitol Rotunda. Look at this, fools. Is the one guy in video? I don't know. Who is this Mr. You know what? I don't know who this is. They're not getting started yet. I wonder if they're starting at 10:30. I might not get to watch a whole lot of this. I guess we'll find out. Let's see here. Since we're still waiting, none of the committee's up here yet. So anyway, the Thompson went on to brand today's political opposition as modern-day Confederates, domestic enemies of the Constitution, cloaking his own authoritarian admonishment under moral righteousness of preserving American democracy. The world is watching what we do here, Thompson said. America's long been expected to be a shining city on the hill. That's Ronald Reagan's word. You better not say that, Benny. Get some Democrats mad. A beacon of hope and freedom and a model for others when we are at our best. The hearing, however, possessed all the signature hallmarks of the infamous Moscow trials nearly 100 years ago, in which opponents to Joseph Stalin's regime, here I'll put it on the screen, were hauled before public and charged with treason and sedition. And those who stormed the Capitol on January 6th are far from the only targets of the witch hunt, spearheaded by Wyoming Representative Liz Cheney and Representative Thompson. Legitimate political opposition on Thursday was absent from the hearing. No counter-narrative was allowed by the regime, which barred the opposing party selected representatives, as every cable network except Fox News carried the programming live. Members conducting the show trial accused their opponents of conspiracy to topple the U.S. government. This is the one that really gets to me. So a conspiracy to topple the U.S. government. How exactly was that going to happen? Are they saying the riot was there to...
The Select Committee to investigate the January 6th attack
here we
on
go.
the United States Capitol will be in order. Without objection, the chair is authorized to declare
Chairman
the committee
Thompson
in recess at any point. Pursuant to House Deposition Authority Regulation 10, the chair announces the committee's approval to release the deposition material presented during today's hearing. Good morning. Last week, the Select Committee laid out a preview of our initial findings about the conspiracy overseen and directed by Donald Trump to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election and block the transfer of power, a scheme unprecedented in American history. My colleagues and I don't want to I'm talking about ourselves during these hearings, but as
yes,
someone
you do.
who's run for office
yes, you do.
times, I can tell
my
you
God.
at the end of a campaign, it all comes down to the numbers. The numbers tell you the winner and the loser. For the most part, the numbers don't lie. But if something doesn't add up with the numbers, you go to court to get resolution. And that's the end
if the
of
courts
line.
fail you?
We accept those results. That's what it means to respect the rule of law. That's what it means to seek elective office in our democracy. Because those numbers aren't just numbers, they're votes. They're your votes. They are the will and the voice of the people. And the very least we should expect from any person seeking a position of public trust is the acceptance of the will of the people, win or lose. Donald Trump didn't. He didn't have the numbers.
Does he have to?
He went to court. He still didn't have the numbers.
He never got a hearing.
He lost.
And in fact,
But
by the way,
the trust of the American
there was
people.
still one hearing that hadn't
voters.
been done yet
He
on
lied
January
to
6,
his supporters
2020.
and the
21,
country.
excuse me.
And he tried to remain in office after the people had voted him out. And the courts upheld the will of the people. This morning, we'll tell the story of how Donald
Not every
Trump lost an
case
election
had been adjudicated
and knew
yet.
he lost an election.
Because,
and as a result of his loss,
who was it?
Decided to wage an attack on our democracy, an attack on the American people by trying to rob you of your voice in our democracy. And in doing so, lit the fuse that led to the horrific violence of January 6th,
they're
when a
saying
mob
he
of his
did it.
supporters stormed the Capitol, sent by Donald Trump to stop
False.
the transfer of power. Today, my colleague from California, Ms. Lofgren, and our witnesses will detail the Select Committee's findings.
Thank you,
on these
Tyler
matters.
Alexander, who says,
But
I moved to
first,
nickname Bernie
I will
Thompson to
recognize our
Foghorn
distinguished
Leghorn.
Vice Chair, Ms. Cheney.
Says, I moved to nickname Benny Thompson to Foghorn Leghorn for the chat. He is about as bright as a foghorn if he thinks this is comparable to slavery and Jim Crow. Breaking news, AOC is scheduled to testify. All fact checkers are going on a vacation.
To overturn the 2020 election. Today, we will begin looking at the initial part of that plan. President Trump's effort to convince millions of Americans that the election was stolen from him by overwhelming fraud. A federal court has already reviewed elements of the committee's evidence on this point and said this, quote, in the months following the election, numerous credible sources in the president's inner circle to agency leadership and statisticians informed President Trump and Dr. Eastman that there was no evidence of election fraud.
They hadn't done that case yet.
Sufficient to overturn the 2020 presidential
I believe
election.
it was Louis Gohmert's case was still going through the courts
documents
by then.
each of the principal reasons for that conclusion, and I would urge all those watching to read it. Today,
yes,
we will
everyone
begin
watching
to
is going to
show
take the time to
American
read
people
it.
some of our evidence.
Sure.
Today, you will hear much more from a former Attorney General Bill Barr's recorded testimony, and you will hear in greater detail what others in the department told President Trump, that his claims of election fraud were nonsense. You will also hear much more from President Trump's own campaign experts, who had also concluded that his fraud claims
whether he's right or wrong, he's allowed his opinion.
Let me focus briefly on just 3 points now. First, you will hear firsthand testimony that the president's campaign advisors urged him to await the counting of votes and not to declare victory on election night. The president understood even before the election that many more Biden voters had voted by mail because President Trump ignored the advice of his campaign experts and told his supporters only to vote in person. Donald Trump knew before the election that the counting of those mail-in ballots in several states would not begin until late in the day and would not be complete for multiple days.
Bullshit!
Reported,
oh my God!
And widely known.
Oh my God!
You will also hear testimony that President Trump rejected the advice of his campaign experts on election night, and instead followed the course recommended by an apparently inebriated Rudy Giuliani.
Irrelevant.
Who just claimed he won. and insist that the vote counting stop.
Wait a minute.
Falsely claim everything was fraudulent. He falsely
through
told the American people that the
Rudy
election
Giuliani?
was not legitimate. In his words, quote, a major fraud. Millions of Americans believed him. Second, pay attention to what Donald Trump and his legal team said repeatedly about Dominion voting machines. Far-flung conspiracies with a deceased Venezuelan communist allegedly pulling the strings. This was, quote, complete nonsense, as Bill Barr said. President Trump's own campaign advisors, his Department of Justice, and his cybersecurity experts.
I think they were absolutely wrong on the voting machine thing.
Here, for example, is White House lawyer Eric Hirschman. His view was shared by many of the Trump team whom we interviewed.
Now, just because these people on his team had views doesn't mean Donald Trump had to take their advice.
Any evidence whatsoever to sustain those allegations.
And third,
one sentence is, oh my God.
So they're
gonna cherry pick again. They cherry pick sentences.
They called the campaign experts to give them a briefing on election fraud and all the other election claims. On January 2nd, the general counsel of the Trump campaign, Matthew Morgan, this is the campaign's chief lawyer, summarized what the campaign had concluded weeks earlier, that none of the arguments about fraud or anything else could actually change the outcome of the election.
Generally discussed on that topic was whether the fraud, maladministration, abuse, or irregularities, if aggregated and read most favorably to the campaign, would that be outcome determinative? And I think everyone's assessment in the room, at least amongst the staff, Mark Short, myself, and Greg Jacob, was that it was not sufficient to be outcome determinative.
Okay, and again,
as is obvious,
if you are quote mining
the Trump
single
campaign
sentences
legal team knew
from interviews,
there was no legitimate argument, fraud, irregularities, or anything to overturn the election. And yet President Trump went ahead with his plans for January 6th anyway.
His plan for January 6th was to have a rally on the mall. That was his plan.
Many are
Do not conflate the rally on the mall to stop the steal with the people who breached the Capitol.
And they acted on it.
They acted before the rally was even over and
marched on the Capitol
when the rally was still going on.
And hundreds of them besieged and invaded the building at the heart of our constitutional
Notice how,
republic.
too, that the people who breached the Capitol grounds
put it recently,
weren't
quote,
at the rally.
Mr. Trump betrayed his supporters by conning them on January 6th, and he is still doing it. Another conservative editorial board that has long supported President Trump said last week, Donald Trump, quote, won't stop insisting that 2020 was stolen, even though he has offered no proof that that is true. And this, Donald Trump now, quote, clings to more fantastical theories, such as Dinesh D'Souza's debunked 2,000 mules.
How is it debunked?
Even as recounts
Be specific
in Arizona, Georgia,
how it was
and
debunked.
Wisconsin confirmed.
And I haven't
Trump
seen it.
lost.
I don't say that it was right or
Those
wrong.
are the correct
I'm just saying
conclusions
I
to
haven't
draw
seen
from the
anyone
evidence
actually
gathered by this
debunk
committee.
it.
We
Either.
have much more evidence
I've
to
seen
show the
neither.
American people on this point than we can reasonably show in one hearing.
It's funny though. They tried to bring
begin.
that up, and every
Thank you,
time
Mr.
they want
Chairman.
to tell
I
you
yield
something's
back.
debunked, they say, "Oh, well, it's been debunked." Well, by who?
Without objection, the chair recognizes the gentlewoman from California, Ms. Lofgren, for an opening statement.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. In our opening hearing, we gave an overview of our investigation into the January 6th attack. The plot to overthrow the election was complex and had many parts, which we'll explore in remaining hearings. But today, we examine the false
were looking
narrative
for
that
multiple
the
legal
2020
ways
election
to
was, quote,
have
stolen.
the
Former
count
President
stopped
Trump's
so they could
plan
continue
to overturn
investigating.
the election relied on a sustained effort to deceive millions of Americans with knowingly false claims of election fraud. All elements of the plot relied on convincing his supporters about these false claims. Today, we'll demonstrate the 2020 election was not stolen. The American people elected President Joe Biden. will present evidence that Mr. Trump's claims of election fraud were false, that he and his closest advisors knew those claims were false, but they continued to peddle them anyway, right up until the moments before a mob of Trump supporters attacked the Capitol. We'll also show that the Trump campaign used
during
these
the time
false
those
claims
supporters
of election
attacked the
fraud
Capitol, because they
to
were
raise
not done
hundreds
speaking
of
yet,
millions
a
of
mile and a half
dollars
away.
from supporters who were told their donations were for the legal fight in the courts. But the Trump campaign didn't use the money for that. The big lie was also a big ripoff. The former president laid the groundwork for these false claims well in advance of the election. As early as April 2020,
you mean
Mr.
like they're
Trump
doing for the
claimed
2022
that the
election
only
right now,
way he
that
could
Democrats
lose
are
an
doing that?
election would be as a result of fraud.
You know the things with bundling and all of the things that are happening with votes by mail, where thousands of votes are gathered, and I'm not going to say which party does it, but thousands of votes are gathered and they come in and they're dumped in a location, and then all of a sudden you lose elections that you think you're going to win.
The only way we're going to lose this election is if the election is rigged.
Again,
remember that.
there's
the only way
nothing-
we're going to lose this election.
This is going to be a fraud like you've never seen. Did you see what's going on? Take a look at West Virginia, mailmen selling the ballots. They're being sold. They're being dumped in rivers. This is a horrible thing for our country. This is not going to end well.
Mr. Trump decided even before the election that regardless of the facts and the truth, if he lost the election, he would claim it was rigged. Mr. Trump was right about one thing. It did not end well. On election night, Mr. Trump claimed even before the votes were counted that his loss was a result of fraud. Now, Thursday, we had testimony from Attorney General Barr about the Department of Justice investigation of Mr. Trump's fraud claims. Barr told Trump directly that his claims were BS. Yet, after hearing the truth and that warning from the AG, Mr. Trump continued to peddle the false claims of fraud. You'll hear detailed testimony from Attorney General Barr describing the various election fraud claims the Department of Justice investigated. He'll tell you how he told Mr. Trump repeatedly that there was no merit to those claims. Mr. Barr will tell us that Mr. Trump's election...
Thank you, Chicago Mike, who says, question, how many dead people voted? Well, probably not much more than any other election.
Attorney General Barr wasn't alone.
Thank you, Chicago Mike,
We'll
very
see
much.
and hear today other Department of Justice officials and senior advisors to Mr. Trump that they told him the claims he was making were not supported by evidence. The election fraud claims were false. Mr. Trump's closest advisors knew it. Mr. Trump knew it. That didn't stop him from pushing the false claims and urging his supporters to, quote, fight like hell, to, quote, take back their country.
My God.
After he lost the election, various legal challenges were made. You'll hear testimony
If
today
every politician
from a
talks
renowned
about
Republican
you need to fight.
election litigation lawyer.
How about Chuck
who will
Schumer
explain the normal process
talking about
by which
Justice
candidates
Kavanaugh?
challenge an election. Rather than accept the results of the election and the decisions of
You
the
have to
courts,
fight for your rights.
Mr. Trump pursued a different strategy.
He
tried to convince the American people the election had been stolen. Many of his supporters believed him, and many still believe him today. The attack on January 6th was a direct and predictable result of Mr. Trump's decision to use false claims
I'm still curious
of
at how
election
they
fraud to overturn the
debunked
election and to
Dinesh
cling
D'Souza's movie.
power.
Haven't
Mr.
quite
Chairman,
seen
I
that.
yield back.
Haven't quite seen that yet. I haven't
Thank
seen
you very much. I now welcome our first witness. We're joined today by former Fox News politics editor Chris Stilwell. Bill Stepien, President Trump's former campaign manager, was subpoenaed to be here and was in Washington this morning, prepared to testify. Kevin Marino, Mr. Stepien's attorney, is here with us today. Thank you, Mr. Marino, for coming.
Okay.
And he has advised us that Mr. Stepien's wife went into labor this morning. Mr. Stepien unexpectedly had to travel to be with his wife, and we wish him the best.
You lie.
Due to the
you
depth
don't wish them the
and
death.
rigor of our investigation,
That's the
with
one
several
who's
hours of Mr. Stephan's testimony from when we interviewed him in February, and we will be presenting that
that's
testimony
Liz
today.
Cheney's
I'll now swear in our witness.
opponent's campaign
The
advisor.
witness will please stand and raise his right hand. Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury?
You don't
that
have
the
to stand,
testimony
Benny, when
you're
you
about
give the
to
test,
give
but
is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God. Thank you. You may be seated.
Again, so they're
Let the
trying
record
to
reflect
call
the
this an
witness
insurrection.
answered in the affirmative.
Anything that
I
they
now
say
recognize myself for questions.
Donald Trump advised, anything he
I
said he
want to
lied about
start by
doesn't necessarily
showing a video that tells the story
have
of what
anything
was
to do with
going
the riot.
on in the Trump White House on election night in November of 2020.
Do you remember where you were on the night of the election, November the 3rd?
I was at the White House.
You know where specifically over the course of that night you spent your time within the White House?
There was an event that was organized in the residence, so I moved between the residence, a room sort of off the residence where some family members were.
I take it the president was upstairs in the residence.
He was upstairs. We were kind of on the first floor, so not upstairs. We were with, mostly with Ivanka and her brothers and a couple other people who'd be coming in and out.
Can you just describe the atmosphere? What were people expecting that night when you got to the White House?
I think that there was, typically for people who show up there on election night, it's going to be a self-select, more positive environment. I think people were a little bit nervous, not knowing what was going to happen with the red wave or the red mirage as the debate was being carried out.
The Fox News Decision Desk is calling Arizona for Joe Biden. That is a
So why are they doing a production? I don't know. That's just it.
Arizona's called. Do you remember that?
I do.
What do you remember happening where you were when Arizona was called?
There was surprise at the call.
Who was surprised?
Most everyone in the room.
Probably everybody.
Were you being one of them?
Yes.
Did that shift the atmosphere or the attitude in the White House?
Completely.
How so? Can you describe that?
Because Fox News was the first one to go out and say that.
So was it anger kind of directed towards Fox News for making a call more so than like disappointment that maybe the campaign lost Arizona?
All the above.
So both anger and disappointment.
Both disappointed with Fox and
Lord Stanhope, that's funny.
Concerned that maybe our data or our numbers weren't accurate.
Were you in the White House residence during the sort of past midnight into the early morning hours of November 4th?
Yes,
I'm not sure
it
what
went
the
over
point
beyond
of this
midnight,
is.
yes.
Do you remember Rudy Giuliani being at the White House on election night and into the early hours the next morning?
I do.
What do you remember about when he came?
He was, I had heard that he was upstairs, in that aforementioned reception area. And
so I'm curious.
He was looking to talk to the president.
Are they going to say that?
It was suggested
because what they're trying to do is push this as the big lie, right?
Down off the map.
The one problem they have.
You said that you had heard that Mr. Giuliani wanted to talk to the president and he was directed your way. Did you end up talking to Mr. Giuliani when he was directed your way?
I did.
What was that conversation?
A lot of conversations were directed my way. A few of us, myself, Jason Miller, Justin Clark, and Mark Meadows, gathered in a room off the map room to listen to whatever Rudy presumably wanted to say to the president.
Was there anyone in that conversation who, in your observation, had too much to drink?
Relevance?
Like Mayor Giuliani.
Relevance?
Tell me more about that. What was your observation about
relevance? Is this just to smear Giuliani? Because they've already said that he was inebriated, right? What's the point of that?
What the president should say when he's addressed the nation on election night?
And the mayor was definitely intoxicated, but I do not know his level of intoxication when he spoke with the president, for example.
Were you part of any discussions?
Kind of like Hillary Clinton on 2016?
People I mentioned, Mr. Stepien, Mr. Meadows, or anyone else, about whether the president should make any sort of speech on election night?
I mean, I spoke to the president. They may have been present, but President spoke to the president several times that night.
There were suggestions by, I believe it was Mayor Giuliani, to go and declare victory and say that we'd won it outright.
It was far too early to be making any calls like that. Ballots were still being counted. Ballots were still being counted for days.
Nobody has ever declared victory in an election before all the ballots are counted in the history of America. Not Al Gore, not George W. Bush, not Bill Clinton, not Barack Obama, not anybody. No one's ever declared victory before all the ballots are counted.
Can you be more specific about that conversation, in particular what Mayor Giuliani said, your response, and then anybody else?
And that night, response? Before they stopped counting ballots in those 5 states,
Mayor Giuliani was saying
Donald Trump was ahead in those 5 swing states, 6 swing states, excuse me, when they counted ballots.
We need to go say that we won. And essentially that anyone who didn't agree with that position was being weak.
What was your view at the time as to what he should or shouldn't say?
Irrelevant. This is all irrelevant. If he...
I don't know that I had a firm view as to what he should say in that circumstance. The results were still being counted. It was becoming clear that the race would not be called on election night.
My belief, my recommendation was to say that votes were still being counted. It's too early to tell, too early to call the race, but
the probability of all 5 or 6 of those states
we ran
turning over would have been unprecedented, which it was. Now it happened.
Good position, and we'll have more to say about this.
Happened
the next day, or the
and
next
we got Joe Biden for president.
And did anybody who was a part of that conversation disagree with your message?
Since then have come true?
Yes.
Who was that?
The president disagreed with that. I don't recall the particular words. He thought I was wrong. He told me so, and that they were going to go he was going to go in a different direction.
This is a fraud on the American public. This is an embarrassment to our country. We were getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win this election. We did win this election.
I never realized how bad Errol Weber got whooped in Karen Bass's
have any basis to declare victory on November 4th, 2020?
Turn your mic on, Dunny.
Mr. Stepien also testified that President Trump had no basis for declaring victory at that point in time.
What, again, I want to ask the relevance of that. If
my belief, my recommendation was to...
As if candidates don't declare victory
votes were still being counted
while the votes are being counted.
It's too early to...
Do you think that...
too early to call the race, but, we proud of the race we ran, and we...
The first congressional hearing made up of reruns. Yeah, it is kind of, isn't it?
We're in good position, and we'll have more to say about this.
So, again, this is the theatrical version of it.
Whenever we had something to say.
Why would you have a witness on the stand and then show video?
Thank you.
Who are you thanking?
Who
are you thanking?
County.
Who are you thanking?
Who won
You're
the
talking to a
presidential
video.
election of 2020?
Joseph Robinette Biden Jr.
It's
of the great state of
Raheem.
Delaware.
It's Raheem.
Thank you. That's the bottom line.
Okay,
We had an election.
and what's the
Trump
point?
Lost, but he refused to accept the results of the democratic process. Pursuant to Section 5C8 of House Resolution 503, I now recognize the gentlewoman from California, Ms. Lofgren, for questions.
Well, thank you, Mr.
What,
Chairman.
you know what's fascinating?
Mr. Schauwald, I'd
I'll
like
tell
you
you in
to
a second.
explain a term that was thrown around a lot during the election, and that's the so-called red mirage. What does that mean?
So in the 40 or 50 years, let's say, that Americans have increasingly chosen to vote by mail or early or absentee, Democrats prefer that method of voting more than Republicans do. So basically, in every election, Republicans win Election Day, and Democrats win the early vote. And then you wait and start counting, and it depends on which ones you count first, but usually it's Election Day votes that get counted first. And you see the Republicans shoot ahead, and then the process of bailing and binding and unbinding all those mail-in votes.
Is it because
and some
Democrats are
states
too
like
lazy to
Pennsylvania
go to the
refuse
polls?
to
I
count
don't
the
know.
votes first, so you have to wait for all of that to come in. So in every election, certainly a national election, you expect to see the Republican with a lead, but it's not really a lead. When you put together a jigsaw puzzle, it doesn't matter which piece you put in first. It ends up with the same image. So for us, who cares? But that's because no candidate had ever tried to avail themselves of this quirk in the election counting system. We had gone to pains, and I'm proud of the pains we went to make sure that we were informing viewers that this was going to happen, because the Trump campaign and the president had made it clear that they were going to try to exploit this anomaly. And we knew it was going to be bigger because the percentage of early votes was higher, right? We went from about 45% of the votes being early and absentee to, because of the pandemic,
So
that
are
increased
they
by about
saying that the
50%.
early votes,
So we knew it would be longer, we knew it would be more.
the in-person
So we
early
wanted to
votes, they
keep
didn't
telling
count those
viewers,
votes either?
Hey, look, the number that you see here is sort of irrelevant because it's only a small percentage of these votes.
So this red mirage, that's really what you expected to happen on election night.
Happens every time.
No, it doesn't happen every time. It didn't happen in
Now, I'd like to
2016.
play a clip
What are
of
you talking
Attorney
about?
General,
It didn't
Bill
happen in
Barr, who
2016.
also
It happened in
explains
2020
what
because
was
they changed
expected to
the
happen
rules. Now,
on election
whether you
night.
think that's good or bad, making it easier to vote, I don't
Right
care.
out of the box on election night, the president
That's wild.
claimed that there was major fraud underway. I mean, this happened, as far as I could tell, before there was actually any potential of looking at evidence. And it seemed to be based on the dynamic that
how many states stopped counting
at the end
on
of the
election?
evening, a lot of Democratic votes came in, which changed the vote counts in certain states. And that seemed to be the basis for this broad claim that there was major fraud. And I didn't think much of that because people had been talking for weeks, and everyone understood for weeks that that was going to be what happened on election night.
What's the rest of the
Mr.
sentence?
Stepien obviously could not be with us today, and it's proper for him to be with his wife as they welcome their child. But he also had discussions with the president about the red mirage, that is, that it would be a long night and that early votes would favor him, but that lots more votes would be counted over the course of the night and the days after. So let's play clip 1 from our interview with Mr. Stepien.
Notice how this is not a question session.
I recounted.
They have it planned out to drop videos in. So why would you have somebody testifying and then play a bunch of videos? This is the theatrical production aspect of this.
Process again.
It's kind of wild, I got to tell you.
You know, the early returns are going to be, positive, and we're going to, be watching the returns of ballots as, they rolled in thereafter.
So
is it fair to say you're trying to present what you thought would be a real?
Yeah, I thought Rakita was going to be doing this today. I was going to try to con my way onto his channel today, but we'll see what happens. I am going to get him on my channel one of these days. I don't live that far from him, actually. Well, I live about an hour from Makita.
I think he expected that from me, and I told him it was going to be a process. It was going to be,
look, the president
have to wait and see how this turned out.
Can be bullheaded.
So, just like I did in 2016,
an understatement. The former president I'm talking about. And he could have been wrong, but that was his belief.
Speaking after he received that information from his campaign advisors.
Look, you can disagree with. You're allowed to disagree with your campaign advisors.
Voting to stop. We don't want them to find any ballots at 4 o'clock in the morning and add them to the list.
So when former President Trump said that, it contradicted what his advisors had warned.
He does not have to listen to his advisors.
Mail-in ballots played an important role in the 2020 election. However, President Trump continuously discouraged mail-in voting. Mr. Stepien was so concerned about the president's position on mail-in voting that in the summer of 2020, he met with President Trump along with House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy. Let's play clip 4.
So she's not asking questions. She's narrating. She's narrating.
I invited Kevin McCarthy to join the meeting, he being of like mind on the issue with me, in which we made our case for why we believed mail-in voting, not to be a bad thing for his campaign. But the president's mind was made up, and he understands, how many times to, go to the well on a particular topic.
Yeah, I understand. Tell me a little bit more about the argument that you and Mr. McCarthy made to the president in that meeting as to why it wasn't a bad thing that mail-in voting.
I don't know who these people are doing the depositions. I'm curious.
Largely two pillars to that argument, both of which I've previously mentioned. One, leaving a good deal to chance, pushing or urging your voters to vote only on election day leaves a lot to chance. That's A. And B, also previously mentioned, the fact that the Trump campaign, the Republican National Committee, the Republican Party had an advantage of grassroots workers and volunteers on the ground that would allow, an advantage to enhance return rates of ballots that were mailed. Those were the two pillars of the argument.
I see. And what, if anything, do you recall Representative McCarthy saying during that meeting?
We were echoing the same argument. I mean, his words echoed mine, and vice versa on those two topics.
Mr. Stirewalt, you were at the decision desk at Fox News on election night, and you called Arizona early for President Biden, which was controversial. How did you make that call, and where did you think the race stood in the early hours of the next day?
Well, it was really controversial to our competitors who we beat so badly by making the correct call first. Our decision desk was the best in the business, and I was very proud to be a part of it. Because we had partnered with the Associated Press and the National Opinion Research Center at the University of Chicago, thanks to my colleague and friend Arnon Mishkin, had built a wonderful device for forecasting the outcomes of elections. So we had a different set of data than our competitors did. We had more research, and we had a better system, and we had a great team. So what you're waiting to see is, do the actual votes match up with the expectations in the poll? The real votes are testing the quality of your poll in targeted precincts and in targeted places. And let me tell you, our poll in Arizona was beautiful, and it was doing just what we wanted.
It was beautiful.
And it was cooking up
it's a
just
beautiful
right.
polling.
And at some point, and I forget
I've never seen any
exactly
better.
Who,
it was
at some
very
point, it became
very
clear
strong
that
and beautiful polling.
Arizona was getting ready to make a call. So my boss, Bill Salmon, said, we're not making any call until everybody says yes, because that was always our policy, unanimity. And you have to understand, in this room, you have, the best. People from academia, Democrats, Republicans, a broad cross-section of people who had worked together for a decade, who are really serious about this stuff. So we knew it would be a consequential call because it was one of 5 states that really mattered, right? Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona were the ones that we were watching. We knew it would be significant to call any one of those 5, but we already knew Trump's chances were very small and getting smaller based on what we had seen. So we were able to make the call early. We were able to beat the competition.
Renee, I didn't want to hear about your husband's beautiful poll. I'm sure it's beautiful and strong, but I just don't want to hear about it right now.
Losing their minds over this call, we were already trying to call the next state. We had already moved on. We were to Georgia. We were to North Carolina. We were looking at these other states. So
people tell me I have a beautiful poll.
I just not surprised.
Everyone except for Stormy, she had some issues.
7th.
But that's why she has to pay my legal fees.
What were the chances of President Trump winning the election?
After
irrelevant.
That point?
Yes. Irrelevant what his opinion was. It's interesting
that you could have
that they brought in
a truckload of ballots
to say
somewhere, I suppose. But once you get into this space,
why are they asking this guy?
I thought about what are the largest
and what does this have to do with what Trump was thinking?
By a recount and the normal
what it has does it have to do with the idiots who rioted?
Like a normal Republican that night when he said, we'll keep every challenge. Nothing like that. In a recount, you're talking about hundreds of votes. When we think about calling a race, one of the things that we would think about is it outside the margin of a recount? And when we think about that margin, we think about, in modern history, you're talking about 1,000 votes, 1,500 votes at the way, way outside. Normally, you're talking about hundreds of votes, maybe 300 votes that are going to change. So the idea that through any normal process in any of these states, remember, he had to do it thrice, right? He needed 3 of these states to change. And in order to do that, I mean, you're at an infant. You're better off to play the Powerball than to have that come in.
On November 7th, the other major news
So I wonder if this guy from Fox
President
News
Biden.
called Donald Trump
Stepien
and told him that
he thought
what he thought
odds
about this.
Were, and this is a quote, very, very, very bleak, and held a meeting with the president that same day.
She's reading off a script.
Show clip 8. Video clip 8.
It's funny. This is all scripted too.
With each day that wore on, I mean, the trajectory of the race on election night, Trump ahead in many states, and as that week wore on, as the 3rd became the 4th, became the 5th, and so on and so forth, and the vote by mail ballots were tabulated, Trump's lead, grew more narrow. And in some places, Biden surpassed, Trump in the vote totals. So as the week wore on, as we paid attention to those numbers multiple times a day, internally.
You could say it was a stormy horizon.
I was feeling less confident for sure.
What was your view on the state of the election at that point?
Very, very, very bleak. We told him, the group that went over there outlined, my belief in chances for success at this point, and then we pegged it at 5, maybe 10% based on recounts that either were automatically initiated or could be initiated based on realistic legal challenges, not
so the point is
challenges that eventually were pursued.
I guess the whole point of this is he didn't listen to the poll guy from Fox News, and he didn't listen to his advisors.
Not a very good
okay.
outlook.
Is he required to listen to his advisors?
President
and does
Trump
that mean
and
that
others continued to claim that the election was stolen? There were lawyers who were a part of the campaign lawyers who were responsible for investigating the fraud claims. That includes Alex Cannon, who could not validate the claims that were being made, including those being made by the president.
These aren't questions. She's still reading.
Video.
She's still reading, but she didn't read what video she's supposed to watch.
it's 2 emails, actually. The first is from Alex Cannon to you and Faith McPherson.
Let's
and
see
then
if
you
they'll show
forward that email on to
will they show
Mark
the whole
Meadows,
email?
Justin Clark, and Jason Miller, the subject being AZ Federal ID Voters. If you look at the original email there, it says, Bill, we completed the AZ analysis you requested. I assume that's about Arizona. And because of the substantial uncertainty surrounding the databases, this is a highly unreliable way to identify ineligible voters. Can you explain the task that you gave to Ms. Cannon for this Arizona analysis?
Sure. Previously, I described some of my frustration with some of the claims that people would throw at President Trump regarding, you need to look at this, this happened in this state or that happened in that state. And it would be, those would flow to us to look into. I talked about that before, I think.
Yep.
This is an example of that. I recall in Arizona, someone had thrown out, I believe this to be the claim, that there were thousands of illegal citizens, people not eligible to vote, having cast their ballots in Arizona. Someone had thrown out that claim to President Trump. And with, the margins being as close as they were, as I previously described, that could potentially matter. So this wild claim is thrown out, which, on its face didn't seem, realistic or possible to me.
So as I'm listening, I'm going to put a link to this, the C-SPAN link on YouTube to
the claim. And
so that if you want to keep watching this, because I'm going to have to close the show down. I thought they were going to start earlier today. So there's the link.
The reality of that was not illegal citizens voting in the election. I think it was like overseas voters voting in the election. So obviously, people who were eligible to vote.
When these findings were passed up the chain to President Trump, he became frustrated and he replaced the campaign's legal team. Let's play clip 14.
So it's fascinating. Again, this is not a hearing. This is a presentation.
Where things like you displayed were occurring, where he was, growing increasingly unhappy with, his team. Me less so because I was less involved at this point, but still me. Growing increasingly unhappy with Justin Clark, and that kind of, paved the way for Justin to be moved out and Mayor Giuliani to be moved in as the person in charge of the legal side of the campaign and for all intents and purposes the campaign at that point.
Now, when Mr. Stepien became campaign manager, he was the second Trump campaign manager for the 2020 race, and there were only about 115 days until Election Day. So let's play the video.
What's interesting about this is...
I inherited a campaign that
hang on.
The day I was hired was, I believe, President Trump's low point in the 2020 daily average polling against President Biden. It was a campaign at a low point in the polls. It was structurally and fiscally deficient. There was a great deal wrong with the campaign in both of those areas. So most of my day spent fixing and I think I took over with 115 days left in the campaign. Most of my time spent fixing the things that could be fixed with 115 days left in the campaign.
Now, Mr. Stepien has been in the campaign field for a long time, and he worked for lots of different candidates and campaigns.
In fact, he's working for Liz Cheney as
opponent. He testified to this committee about his concerns given the claims that Mr. Giuliani and Ms. Powell and their team were making publicly. Let's play clip.
Yeah, Giuliani and Powell were off the rockers. Let's just put it that way.
Okay, and was it important for you, Mr. Stepien,
and,
to sort of
unless they can show us the evidence, I don't know what their claims are.
Reputation. You didn't want to be associated
here's my bottom line. If you want to watch it, I got the link there in the link.
And others that sort of stepped in the wake of your departure.
And unfortunately, I do got to go. So I would say this. So if Trump believed there's fraud, he could be wrong. Absolutely could have been wrong. The idea that there was no fraud at all, that's also wrong. But whether or not it could have affected the election, that is the big question. Now, nothing he said between the election in January 6th caused that riot. Now some of those idiots that went in there and did the things they did should be prosecuted. But the idea that Trump was trying to have a coup or an insurrection, that was a riot. People upset. Now, did he get him upset? Sure. His words probably got him upset. Things that happened in real time on the election night got people upset. That the fact that they, when they stopped voting in some places, they put papers over the windows, got people upset. Instead of having a transparent process and a process in which the chain of custody of votes is suspect. Now, would it change the election? Very unlikely. But all those things do not make for an election that you can trust. And so I can understand why people would think this doesn't make sense. You got 5 states, all swing states, that stopped voting in the middle of the night in heavily Democratic precincts. That's one of those things that people are upset about. I'm not making a judgment on that, other than the idea that someone would think there was something wrong is plausible. And it's not wrong to think that there was something wrong. Now, the people who rioted around the Capitol, this is not the idea that Trump was wanting them to riot, that there was some kind of a coup and insurrection. How do you have an insurrection without weapons? How do you take over because these people are saying they were trying to take over our democracy. They were going to try to take over the federal government. How do you do it with no weapons? One unit of military people could have gone through in there and taken everybody out if they needed to. Obviously it didn't happen. They had their protest. They walked around the Capitol building. They left after a few hours, and the committee, the joint session of Congress resumed and finished what they did the same night. And there was a peaceful transfer of power on January 20th, 2021. So this little dog and pony show of anti-Trumpers in a scripted and very, theatrical, scripted out hearing where all the Congress people are reading the script and going along and then asking the question that fits the script. And then Zoe Lofgren goes back to reading, this is what happened. This was, and here's the clip. And the clip is written down for me. And then the clip goes, and then she reads her next lines. It's fascinating, but is it going to make people forget that you're paying $5 a gallon of gas and $8.80 for a gallon of milk and $5 for a dozen eggs in parts of the country? Is going to make them forget when this winter, when heating oil in the Northeast is at that price, or natural gas if you're using in the Midwest, or propane, the prices are going up like crazy, or the fact that to buy a pound of hamburger is like $6, $7 sometimes. Is it going to make people forget that? Is it going to make people forget that they're spending $5,000 more a year on just essentials because of inflation? Is it going to make it easier to buy a home? Of course, that market's going to crash, like the stock market's crashing right now. If you didn't hear about that, there's definitely a little issue with the stock market right now. Is it going to make Amber Heard tell the truth? Sorry, I couldn't resist. Anyway, that's my rant for today. I don't think there's the next hearing is a couple days, so I'll have a regular show tomorrow. Thanks everyone for being here. Click the C-SPAN link. I don't know. I'm not even sure who else is covering this right now. I'm looking at my subscription feeds. Let's see. Oh no, Patriot Front had equipment from the FBI. I'll check. We'll talk about them tomorrow. But if you other people who are actually covering this, I gave you the C-SPAN link. Amazing Lucas, Hotep Jesus, Viva Fry, Uncivil Law, Law and Crime, are all covering it right now. So there's some places you can go. I think Rikitas has another trial that's starting, so he didn't want to follow today. But for those of you who joined me today, thank you for being here. We'll have a regular show tomorrow. We'll get caught up in some news. I do have a few articles in the links today about the January 6th hearing from just a few different sources. If you want to check those out, I'll have those updated in the description down below at the end of the show. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. In fact, this is in the January 6th committee link will be in there. Also, I'm sorry. Thank you also. Almost forgot. Hang on. Gino, Rotten Corpse, Mayan Squatch, Renee Mayette, Tyler F., Rotten Corpse, again, Somnambul Nation. Thank you all for retweeting the show. Remember, hit the like button before you go to retweet the show or share the link before, during, after the show. Put a comment in the comment section. And if you want to sponsor the show, that information is down below. I might do a short one this afternoon because I want to show a video of my grandbaby. Anyway, thank you, everybody, today. I got to go. My name's Dawg Knight, and I'm out of here. Bye-bye. Hey, this is Dawg Knight, and thank you for watching today on the Dawg Knight Channel. If you have an observation or remark you'd like to make about this video or my channel, I absolutely welcome you to write it in the comment section down below. I really look forward to hearing from you. And before you go, if you like what you saw but you're not already subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and definitely click that bell that pops up afterwards so you'll be notified when I post new videos or when we go live. I broadcast my live show, The Morning Night Live, Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. A special thank you to all the supporters of this channel who share our videos on social media and who make donations through Streamlabs, YouTube, Venmo, and Cash App, which are all linked in the description down below. Thanks again, and until next time, I'm Dawg Knight, and I'm out of here.